How's it going, guys? Alex here. Welcome back to another Dokkan Battle video, and today we're going to talk about PvP potentially being in Dokkan in the next few months. And of course, we are almost 3 years into the game and we still have no sign of PvP. But of course, I am going to be talking about some signs that could potentially indicate that we may be getting PvP in the future. Of course, you have games like Blazing that have it, and it was added pretty recently. But I think the biggest issue with that game mode for a lot of people is that it's A for Whales. But that's just going to be the case with the majority of the games. Of course, the developers are going to cater for the players that pay. That's just the way that it is. It's a business. But enough of that aspect. So I believe it was Dino that brought this up, and he basically suggested to me and a few others that Battlefield was basically a test for PvP. And you have to keep in mind that Battlefield came out ages ago, almost around a year ago, and we haven't really seen that much development when it came to the actual mode. Last time we saw it was in May, which was a long time ago. So we are basically waiting for its return, and they did announce that it was going to return eventually, just a matter of, you know, perfecting a few things here and there. And what I liked about the mode is that it was extremely unique. I did bring this up in my Super Battle Road video. I did appreciate the uniqueness, and again, the issue was that you needed like so many units to go ahead and actually take on this mode. Pardon me, to go ahead and take on this mode successfully. And I do agree that it's definitely aimed at the paying players, or just the players that have been playing for a long time, because of course if you've been playing for a long time, you have most likely accumulated a decent amount of SSRs, and it's not like Blazing where you need these top tier units with several abilities. You just simply need like these SSRs, and that, I know, sounds like a bit much, but when you compare it to Blazing, it definitely isn't as bad, especially if they try to turn it into some sort of PvP mode. But the reason why I think, as well as Dino, why Battlefield could have potentially been some sort of tester for PvP is because you have like the different types with different abilities. Of course, you have agility that are capable of moving faster. You have tech that can take out multiple enemies. You have STR that are stronger. I believe Int can break down the barrier faster, and then you have the physical type units, which are tanks. So that could definitely turn into some sort of PvP mode, like easily, without a doubt. My idea was that you can just, you know, try to take out your opponent's barrier, and it's a pretty straightforward game mode. But again, the issue is that you need multiple units to take this on successfully, especially if you're in the higher tiers, because of course the players in the higher tiers are going to have multiple units that are most likely stronger than the players that don't pay as much. And that is definitely where a few issues start to arise, because if you are like, let's just say you are both in the same tier, or the same grade, whatever you want to call it, and let's just say it's the highest one. If you have someone that is consistently paying when new events came out, or when new events come out, they have a massive advantage over a player in the exact same tier. If they manage to get there, of course, they have a massive advantage over someone in the exact same tier that doesn't pay as much, just simply because they have a vast majority of the units in the game. Granted, that player in particular could have gotten extremely lucky and managed to pull in newer units with ease, but at the same time, it's very unlikely. So they do need to work with a few things when it comes to scaling and pairing certain players up with each other, but at the same time, they need to figure out some sort of way to make it possible for the free-to-play players and, you know, players in the middle that kind of spend here and there, and then of course you have the whales, to be able to participate in a potentially PvP mode. And Battlefield could definitely be one of the best ways to do that, because they could easily put a system in place where if you only have a set amount of SSRs, you can only face other people with that amount of SSRs. For example, I believe the limit is 100. So if you have 100 SSRs, you can go ahead and take on people with the same amount of SSRs. If you have 50, you can take on with someone around, you know, the 50 SSR mark. Maybe you can base it on a team cost thing, because I know team cost wasn't actually in the original Battlefield mode, but they could just simply add something like that, because it bases like the units that you have on a team cost. And it's like, okay, so you clearly have the majority of the Dokkan Fest units / LRs, so we are going to, you know, pay you up with a similar player instead of, you know, putting you up against someone that doesn't have all of these great units. And I could definitely see it working out. The only issue is, like, are there going to be connectivity issues? Because you have to keep in mind that you have the Japanese players, you have the players from the US, you have the players from Europe, just so many players from, you know, around the world. Like, is this mode actually going to be able to work successfully? Because we've seen in the past that Bandai servers can be extremely unstable, but I think for the most part it could, you know, work out, because, you know, it's Bandai, they'll make things work in the end. And especially for something as big as this, like for Dokkan, it's definitely one of the biggest things right now, and we are coming up on a 3rd year anniversary. So it's like, I definitely expect to see some sort of PvP soon. I think Battlefield was definitely the starting point for that after speaking to Dino, of course. And I definitely like the idea that different types can do different things, and it will allow certain units to actually be usable. They could, you know, go down the blazing route and give some of the weaker characters, you know, like extremely strong abilities, or just make some of the free-to-play units actually usable. And that would be a great way to just get, you know, some of the free-to-play players involved that have not so many great units. And I definitely think that's a possibility in the future. If it's just completely based on the amount of SSRs you have and certain units don't have abilities, it's just like, okay, if you have this physical, like, farmable unit from like a year ago, you could still be pretty damn good because he has a physical type. He can tank the majority of the hits. Granted, I think they need to sort of balance it. You can't just go ahead and, of course, make the Dokkan Fest or the legendary rare. It's not that great, and then make the super res on par of that. But I definitely think they should make a mode where you kind of have to think about what you have to choose. But I think the main issue is just going to be balancing out, if they do this, of course, because Battlefield may not even be like their idea for PvP. They may go ahead and make it like Blazing in terms of gameplay, which I doubt. But if they do this and decide to go down the Battlefield route where you have to go ahead and take out the opponent's barrier, that could definitely be a good starting point, and then it could evolve from there. And I think it's pretty simple. I mean, you have two players playing the game, take each other's barriers out, just use the best units that you can, and just see who can outsmart each other, basically. Use certain units at the right time. You get rewards potentially, like Blazing, and I honestly am hoping to see a mode like that in the future. Like Battlefield in particular wasn't bad mode by any means, in my opinion. I think the reason why people didn't necessarily like it that much is because there was a limit on how many times you could take it on in a day, and they kind of limited that once it came back in May. But I'm really hoping to see it soon. I definitely think it has a ton of potential in terms of PvP gameplay. I could be completely wrong, but that is honestly one of the major signs of a potential, you know, PvP mode, because that was completely different from anything we've seen before. Like, even this new mode that they added to Dokkan is just very similar it's basically the same to what we have now, right? And Battlefield is completely different from that. So I'm hoping that Battlefield definitely is going to be a starting point for PvP at the very least. There has been no announcement of PvP. You have to keep in mind that this is just completely my theory, and of course this is what I spoke to about with multiple people. I finally decided that it was the right time to make this discussion, because of course we have the new mode. We are potentially going to be, well, we know for a fact that we are getting the limit breaking stuff. And then Battlefield is hopefully going to come back as well. But is it just going to come back as a solo mode, or is it going to be coming back as a PvP mode? Like, is it going to be a solo mode and a PvP mode? I mean, at the moment we don't know, but it could definitely be both of those things, because we still have rewards in the barbershop for, you know, the Battlefield currency. It's just a matter of actually making use of it, because at the moment we don't have access to the mode. But yeah, I think I've pretty much touched on everything. There isn't much else to go over, but before I do end the video, I just want to quickly point out that this new mode is honestly one of the best things happened to Dokkan in ages. I know I made a video saying that it wasn't necessarily the most creative mode, but you have to keep in mind that we have been asking for a challenge for the longest period of time, and I'm glad that they finally gave us that challenge. I may not agree with every single aspect of the mode, but overall I'm super happy with the way that it turned out, and it's just a shame that it's kind of a weekend thing, but it gives you a challenge, right? I mean, it's not like the reward that is locked behind it is like super good anyway, so it's not like you're missing out on much. And I know it kind of seems like I'm contradicting myself, because I basically am. Overall, I do enjoy the mode. It has has good things about it and has bad things about it, in my opinion. But that's just the thing with the majority, you know, of this game. It has good things and bad things about it. But I'm glad that they added this mode. It adds a real challenge to the game, and I'm hoping that potentially PvP and the future modes could add something like that as well. And I did see someone bring up that this limit breaking stuff that is being added to Dokkan could potentially be the reason why this new mode is actually this hard. Or maybe they are adding the limit breaking thing to allow some of the weaker units to actually be usable in a future PvP mode. So multiple things to think about here. Of course, I went over the Battlefield mode where you have the different types, you have to take down the barrier, and how certain units could potentially be usable in certain situations. Doesn't matter which unit it actually is. Of course, we spoke about the matchmaking. Is it going to be stable? Are we going to, you know, potentially have unfair matchups, which I hope isn't the case, but like I stated earlier, there are definitely several ways of making that not so much of a problem. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video as always, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below as always. But I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I will see you all in the next one.